What's up guys, welcome back to the next video in learning C++. My name is QTS Danny and you guys watching my channel Cryowood. Alright, so in this video we're gonna show you guys inheritance. We're gonna give you an example, and in future videos we also gonna give you a few examples so you guys fully understand the concept of inheritance in C++ object-oriented programming. Alright, so we're gonna create a new file. So we're gonna go on the add a new file, and our new file is going to be header file, and we're going to come here. For example, we're going to put a vehicle. We can create a humans, we can create a parent child, we can create a vegetable, say for example anything that makes sense. Say for example you guys going on registration and licensing branch of any state or territory or province of your country, and you guys have a department of say regulations. They do the vehicle licensing. There's different types of vehicle. There is trucks, car, buses. There is different type of car variations. Say for example there is sedan, hatchback. There's say for example fast car, slow car, family car, tiny car, whatever car you can imagine there, but they all comes under the category of the vehicle. So vehicle can be any type of the car that has a wheels. So how many wheels determine the type of the car, the size of the car, horsepower of the car, whatever you guys can think of. So we're going to create a simple example as a vehicle, and we're going to declare this one as a base class, our base class. All right, so we're going to go here and we're going to create our header file. You guys can create it here as well, so no, don't get me wrong, you guys can create it here on top, because the header is the same as you guys gonna come here and put it on top. So we're gonna include our file which is gonna be the vehicle .h for header, and now we are ready for our vehicle to come here, and we are gonna use our vehicle now. Okay, so before doing that we're gonna go some formality, and we're gonna put a if not defined, and we put a vehicle. We're gonna define. So you guys can write once, get here and put it here, and you guys here, and you guys gonna come here, and you guys gonna go there and diff. Alright, so putting using namespace, so we don't have to type each time. And now we're going to put our class vehicle, which is our base class. Alright, so our base class here, and what we're going to put in our base class. For example, if you guys think of a vehicle, you guys can think of any type of vehicle, but later on if you guys want, you guys can put enum inside the type. Enum, you guys can put a say vehicle type, and I'm going to put it later on, but now at the moment, because you guys need to concentrate on the class vehicle. So our class vehicles, for example, in a vehicle, what you guys can think of, you guys can think of, if you guys want to put a truck and bus, you guys need to put a horsepower, and you guys put the number of wheels, because the number of the wheels determines what's the type of truck our bus is. Because I myself coming from the logistics background, because I know all the trucks and buses and the cars and vehicles. So for example, if the car is heavy rigid, it has 10 tires. So if you guys going to see that's heavy rigid 10 tires, and if you guys going to see the light rigid truck or bus, light rigid, it has say for example it's 2 at the front and 4 at the back, which 6 tires, and this one 6 tires, and this guy is here, they have 2 at the front and 8 at the back, which makes it 10 tires. So it has a 10 tires, 10 wheelers. And if you go further up, you've got a semi, and semi's got 18 wheels. And if you guys gonna go B double, for example, and B double's got an extra, say for example 18 plus 8, you guys gonna put 18, which is a semi. You guys can put another 8 on top, which makes it 26 tiles. So that's a B double. And another one, we have a road train, which which you guys can connect trailers up to say 5 trailers, for example. Alright, so long story short, we're gonna go according to the vehicle, because the normal cars have say only 4 wheels. Cars have 4 wheels, but the cars determined by horsepower. That's what the cars cause in the market. If the car has a lot of horsepower, the car is very expensive. If the car's got a low horsepower, it means the car goes in a power mode, so you guys can spend very little bit on the car. But normal car comes in at 1 horsepower or 2 horsepower. We're not talking about 500 horsepower or 600. We just assume the car's got a few hundred horsepower. Alright, so in our private here, we're gonna put a say int. We put a horsepower, and we put a wheels, because that was determined the type of the car. And inside the public, now we have a horsepower and we have a wheels. Now we have we put a void set. We're gonna put a horsepower. So we are setting the horsepower. And how we gonna set the horsepower, you guys can put it here. So we have a int, then you guys can put a XYZ, or you guys can put a number of horsepower, size, whatever number, whatever. And here you guys gonna assign this number to the number of horsepower. So you guys can put a horsepower, and you guys can put assign this number of horsepower to the whatever you guys have your parameter. We're gonna put a number, because we need a number, some sort of number inside the main. You guys need to put a, say for example, if his whatever the number, you guys need to put a number of horsepower. If the vehicle's got a 1 horsepower or 2 horsepower, and you guys need to put a parameter here. Now we have set the horsepower, though you guys need another function to get it. So we put a get, and we put a horsepower. So we have set it, and now we're gonna return. We're gonna return horsepower. Alright, so now based on this, you guys need to create another one for the wheels. So we're gonna put a void set wheels. So we are setting the wheels, and we're gonna do the same process. We're gonna put an int, how many wheels the car has, the vehicle, and we put an int number, our numbers, whatever. So we're gonna put numbers, and we put a numbers here, and we put a numbers here. And now we're gonna come here, and we put a return. There's a typo here, and we're gonna say we're gonna assign the number of wheels. So whatever the wheels is, so we're gonna put a wheels, and we're gonna assign these numbers. No, so that's wrong. We're gonna put a numbers. Alright, so now we have set the wheels. Now we're gonna get an int get wheels. We are getting the wheels, and we're gonna return wheels. So we have completed our base class, which is this guy is here. So I'm gonna come here, and you guys keep in mind, can put anything else here. You guys can put an int, say number of seats, int the car color, either the name of the car, whatever you want. But because this is a base class, you guys can put an int horsepower, because the horsepower is shared by every vehicle, and the wheels is shared by all the class vehicles, whatever, if it's sedan or if it's small car, big car, utility vehicles, any other vehicle, drilling vehicles, if it's a truck, bus, or anything, but it has a wheel, and this wheel shares by every class, because that's a basic for the class vehicle. And the horsepower is also, because without horsepower the engine won't run. All right, so in here we have because we declared two here, our variables, we're gonna put a functions, and functions gonna set the horsepower, and that's the number of the horsepower. We're gonna assign this number to this horsepower, and we're gonna get our horsepower. So we're gonna return this one. In here we have set our wheels, which is going to be the number of the wheels, and we assign these numbers to wheels, and we're going to get your get wheels, and we're going to return our wheels, how many wheels our vehicle has. Or so the first part is done. Now we're going to come on the second part, which is going to be the child class, our derived class. Or if you guys want, you guys can put your derived class here, but doesn't matter. It's the same as you guys, whatever you guys write here, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're going to come on here on our derived class. Say for example, you guys can put a class bus, or you guys can put a class big truck. So now our class big truck, which is a child class, is this class gonna inherit whatever here. So the class vehicle, so we're gonna come here at the down, and we're gonna put a public, which, as I said to you guys can access all the public part of this one, so you guys can put a vehicle. All right, so as I said to you guys here, whatever the public, you guys can just put a public here, and you guys can access all the parts of this class, the base class. Now we have full access to the set horsepower and the get horsepower, the set wheels and the get wheels of the base class. So we have put our child class, and we're gonna put it in a public, and we're gonna put a public. So in public we're gonna add some of our own functions. Say for example, you guys can put a, because it's a class truck, you guys can put an int, for example load, because every truck carries a load or capacity, whatever you guys want to put. You guys can put int load or int capacity here, because now this truck has horsepower. This truck's going to access the wheels, because we are setting and getting the horsepower in the wheels, and this truck's now, the truck's got something, its own variable, it's called load. So we're going to come here, and we're going to see set the load, and we're going to get the load. So we're going to say void set the load. We're going to set the load, and what's the load, and we're going to put a size of the load. We're going to see what's the size, or what's the weight. You guys can put a weight or size, and we're going to put a load is equal to size, because we're going to assign this size to the load, and we're going to put an int, and we are going to return this one, and we're going to get load. Okay, so now we are setting and getting load, and we're going to return load. Alright, so now all this is very nice, but we're gonna have one more, because function, and to display all the information. So we put a display, we are using this function to display all the information whatever we have. So the first one is we're gonna see the horsepower, because the vehicles have a horsepower, and we're gonna put in our display cout, and we put the number of wheels. So what's the number of the wheels? And we are, because we set the wheels and we set the horsepower, and we're gonna get the wheels because we already set it, and we're gonna get it from here, and we're gonna get wheels, and we're gonna put a, say for example, it's gonna be next line. So we're gonna copy paste this one few times, for example, because we want to see the horsepower. So we're gonna put the number of horsepower of the vehicle, get horsepower. So we're gonna put a get horsepower. Alright, so now we are keep in mind we don't have the horsepower here inside the truck. We don't have the number of wheel here. All we have is the load. So you can come here and we put a the size of the load, for example, the size of the load. So the size of the load, you guys can put it here, because we are getting the size of the load and setting and getting the size of the load. So we put a get load. That's what we get in this function, and I'm going to explain to you guys again. This class vehicle is a base class, and you guys can see here that we have a horsepower and we have a wheel, because every vehicle shares the horsepower and the wheels. The vehicles also shares the engine size. You guys can put the engine size. You guys can make it very complicated, but for the simplicity purposes, I'm gonna just put a 2, so you guys can just set the horsepower, and you just put a number, and you guys can put whatever number you guys get it from the user. You guys can put it here, or you guys can display it your own. So, and we're gonna get a horsepower, and we're returning horsepower, and we're gonna set the wheels, and we're gonna get the wheels. Alright, so now we're gonna come here, and we have a class truck, and we are inheriting this one from the public vehicles access modifier, because we are inheriting from the base class. Now we have a variable which is the size of integer, and that's we call it load. And now here with the public, we have a void set load, and we're going to get the load. Here we are have a parameter size, what size we're going to assign it to load, and we're going to return this one. Here we're going to just display the load. So now the first ones, the vehicle truck doesn't have, but the class vehicle has it. If you guys look in here, this one has it, but this is the class vehicle. Well, we have full access, and we can share it with this class, which is the truck. So we have as I said to you guys, even if you guys don't display your constructor, C++ by default gonna put your constructor, and that's what we're gonna initialize our objects. So we're gonna bring this truck here, and we're gonna put a truck, and you guys can put a X and Y. So truck X, we're gonna have two objects. We're gonna have a class truck, which is this one. We are not gonna bring a class, keep in mind the base class, because we don't need this one. Only provides the information. This is the one which we need, which we're gonna display that one. Okay, so we're gonna have a truck X and Y. That's our object. Now we're gonna set the X dot, and now we're gonna set the horsepower. Set horsepower, and whatever you guys gonna put a, say for example 300 horsepower. We're gonna set this one, we have set our horsepower. The next one we're gonna set the wheels, and we put a set wheels. Okay, so the number of the wheels, because our truck has say for example 26 wheels, and the next one's gonna be the load, and we're gonna set load, whatever your load is, say for example 5 ton, 50 ton, for example, we're gonna set it on 50 ton. So now our this X is done, and you guys can put your second object, say for example another truck. You guys can put a Y dot set horsepower, and this one, the next one's gonna be say for example 700 horsepower, and that one's gonna be the set wheels, and that one's gonna be say for example 10 or you guys can have 28 wheels, because this is bigger. All right, so now we put the set horsepower and we put a set wheels, and now we're gonna put the set load. So we're gonna put a Y dot set load. So we're gonna put a set load. So this one's got a 300, and we put a 26 wheels, and maximum in this one takes is 50,000 load. So this one we're gonna make it 70,000, for example 70,000, because that's truck 1 and that's a truck 2, and that's our object X, and we have an object Y. We're setting the first truck, and we're setting the second truck. Alright, so now this one's done, and now we have another function here which we use it for display. So we're going to display our information. We're going to display the horsepower and the wheels, because the horsepower and the wheels coming from the base class, and it's have a size of the load, and you guys are going to look it here, the size of the load is coming from the class truck. So now we're going to put a X dot display, and we put a Y dot display. So we're gonna put a both dot display. We're gonna build our project, and we're gonna run, and you guys gonna see that's the first, and that looks a bit complicated, so I'll make a some sort of see out. I'm gonna make it a little bit pretty here, and I'm gonna put a next line here so you guys can see it properly. I'm gonna copy this one, and I'm gonna display it here, put it here, so this is gonna look nice. Build a project, and I'm gonna run it, and if you guys look in here, that's the first truck, the number of the horsepower, and number of wheels is gonna be 26, and this one is gonna be 700, and that's number of the wheels, and you guys gonna see that's the size of the load is 70,000. So that's our first truck, and that's the second truck. But if you guys want to display it, you guys can come here, and you guys can put the name of the truck. So it's got a int size. You guys can put another one, so you guys can put a string, and you guys can put a name. Okay, so now we're gonna come here, we're gonna set the name, and we're gonna get the name. So we're gonna come here, and we're gonna put a void, we put a set name, and you can set whatever name here. So you're gonna put a string strings as name, or you guys can put a string n, and you guys can put a name, and you guys can put a s. Sorry, this one's n, because that's a name, and that's what you guys can put a string n, and you guys can get a name. So you guys can put a string is you guys don't put an int because we are getting this name. So you guys can put a get, you guys can put a name, and we can put a return name. Alright, so now we're gonna come here and we're gonna put, so you guys can put a name, anything you guys like. So you guys can put this one, the name of the, you guys, we can put it here. We put a truck name, and we put a get name. We put a get name. Okay, so now we have one more function. We have added string name. Now we getting the set name, and we have this n, and we go assign this n to m, but this is a type, data type string, and we're getting the name, and we're returning the name. Alright, so now we're gonna come here, we're gonna add some more. We're gonna put x dot set name, and this one's gonna be, say for example, Mercedes. It's gonna be Benz, so the Mercedes-Benz like that. And here we're gonna put, for our second truck, we put a y dot set name, and the set name is gonna be Volvo. For example, our you guys can put a Hino, our make, which is very powerful trucks. So now we added some more information. The first one is going to be set name Mercedes-Benz, and the second one is going to be the make. We're going to save all, and we're going to run. And if you guys look in here, we have put the truck name. The first one is going to be Mercedes-Benz, and the second one is going to be the, so the Mercedes. Now this looks very nice because the truck name is Mercedes-Benz, and you guys can kind of horsepower this one, and it's got a truck is say for example make, and horsepower is 700, wheels 28, and load can carry the load, the size which the load can carry is 70 grand. Or you guys can make it very nice. All you guys needs to come here, because now if you look in here, we have a class vehicle, and it comes horsepower and wheels, but because the base class, you guys can't just put a name here, because every vehicle the name is different for the every. You guys can put it here actually too, but this is more looks nice, looks precise if you can put string name, or you guys can put load our string name, and you can put it here. So or you guys can put a load or the get, you guys can put any other information, the engine size, but that will cover the horsepower, covers it. So you have put a set load, get load, set name, and you guys can get a name. So you guys can come here, and the size of the load, the size of the load which the truck can carry, the truck can carry the load size. So what size the truck can carry, so you guys can put it this way as well. And if you guys can see how powerful is this for the inheritance, all you guys needs to do, if you guys working for going for interview for say vehicle registration or vehicle licensing, and you guys they ask you to create a vehicle program, you guys needs to know the inheritance, how the class comes in here, class truck, and later on you guys can put a lot of other things. Say you guys can put a class bus, for example. you guys can put a class, you guys can put a bus, put a public here, public vehicle. You guys can do this. You guys can create a child class bus, and you guys can create a car, for example. You guys can create another one here. So we're gonna create, say, class car, for example, and it's going for public and vehicle. How easy is this? Now you guys are very familiar with inheritance, and now we have a class, a bus, which child class, our drive class, a bus and car is drive class, and which is inheriting from the class vehicle, which is the base class, our parent class. So in the next video we try to complete these ones as well, and we're gonna cement further the idea of the inheritance, and we're gonna see how inheritance is a lot easy. We can create a very complex object-oriented programming with inheritance. Alright guys, that's it for this video. If you guys have any question or comment, leave it in the comment box. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video, and bye.